Don Sweeney yesterday indicating that the Bruins are working on an extension with Brad Marchand. That would mean they would not trade the veteran elsewhere. You can play that audio, and then Curtis will give you his theory.
Brad has said that he'd like to be a Bruin for life. Do you want that?
That's always been my ultimate goal. We've been in negotiations with Brad and communicating with him throughout the year. We'll have to have a conversation now that Four Nations is over, and sit down with Brad and his representatives and have a clearer path in the next 2 weeks as to what his final outcome will be.
So you say that, if you are thinking of shopping somebody and you want to get max value, then you talk about how you can't wait to re-sign him and give him whatever he wants because he's Brad Marchand.
Yeah, there's no way in zero capacity does it benefit the team to publicly discuss trading Marchand until the deal has been consummated, because you're already going to deal with backlash when you make the deal. Why would you let people in on the fact that you're shopping him before you actually execute the transaction? So if I'm running the Bruins, to me, and you don't do a full fire sale, like offload anybody that you don't view as part of your core going forward, then you're doing a disservice to the organization.
I think it's a great move by Sweeney, because even to take it to a deeper level of conspiracy, what he's actually telling the league and the team that he could potentially trade him to is that Brad still wants to play. Right. So that new team that would trade for a guy like Brad Marchand would go, oh, we can now maybe sign him for another couple of years, and he can obviously help us this year to get over the hump, but he'll still be part of organization for the next couple of years to win a Stanley Cup, because you're not going to trade him to some crappy team. You're going to trade him to a contender. So it's pretty good for him to say that.
When Cam and Don Sweeney are sitting down today, tomorrow, whatever, how quickly do you think they look at this team being a team that can move past the first round of the playoffs? A year? 2 years?
A year.
A year?
You think a year?
Yes, absolutely.
Is it that easy in hockey, though?
Well, yes. I mean, they fired their coach, and then they had the record number of wins in the regular season. I mean,
yeah, but they already had a core that had proven that they could win in the playoffs. Like, with this team, even if you get a new coach, you're bringing back the same core.
Look at, we saw Binnington in the USA Four Nations game against Canada. The Blues were out of the playoffs halfway through the year. They won the Stanley Cup. They were a mediocre team that got hot. In no other sport is it easier to go. Swayman plays out of his mind, and you could win a round. I'm not saying Stanley Cup contender, but for me, this whole core of Marchand, Bergeron, Chara, that era is one of the more overrated eras in the history of Boston sports. They won once.
Yeah.
And they haven't won in 14 years. And so, to me, I want to see the direction of this team. I want to see a new coach.
Right.
I'd like to see a new GM.
Right.
But either way, you can't approach this deadline. Extending Marchand makes 0 sense. Zero.
Right, but you have the problem that you have is you don't have, where's your new core that you're building around? Like, building around Pasta and McAvoy, okay, great. You're not going to trade those guys. But Zadorov has been a major fail. Both Lindholms have been a major fail.
Scheim loves geeky.
Right? So when you think of like the core and the other guys, you really only have, because you would trade Coyle, you would trade.
Well, you can't. I still think you can't trade Charlie Coyle. He did that 7-year deal where he can't be traded.
He's from Sturbridge.
But you would, though, right? Do you look at him as, because you asked the question, like, if they're sitting there and they go, all right, if we bring everybody back, so now we got to do the thought process is do what Curtis says. We got to pray and hope that the goalie gets hot for us to make a deep run.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's not like you're stuck with guys that, and you get credit for going for it 2 seasons ago or whatever when you had the best record in the league, but you also hurt yourself by doing deals with guys who didn't pan out.
Right.
And you're stuck there.
And couldn't you make the argument that the only cup they have is because their goalie played out of his mind?
Yeah.
Like, if Tim Thomas is just great,
Well,
not
you
unbelievable.
Have like Patrice Bergeron in his prime, Curtis.
Yeah,
Like,
did you watch the Canadian series when they were down 2-0 in double overtime, and Tim Thomas made save after save after save?
I would say he was the reason why you were able to win a Stanley Cup.
Right.
But you had a good enough core that even though when you moved on from Tuukka Rask, you had enough talent to be able to get you there. And then obviously it's about how the goalie plays. But this is similar to what like we saw with the Patriots from a couple years ago. You go out and you get all these guys, and then these guys don't stop panning out. And then the question becomes, and I don't know about hockey, how long do you wait and stick around with these guys? Or do you say, all right, we just got to rip it down and try to build a whole new core of players around Pasta and Coyle?
Yeah.
Because do you feel good about the core that they have outside of Pasta, not Coyle, but McAvoy?
No, I really don't.
So if you're the Bruins and you're coming and you're like you asked,
I mean, Hampus Lindholm was, a little above meh,
right?
Until the injury, and now he's done. But other than that,
Zadorov is meh. Elias Lindholm is meh. We've talked about Charlie Coyle, and maybe he's a good third-line centerman, but you're paying him. He should be a top 6 forward. Then you've brought up Geeky. You've brought up Frederick. You brought up. So
I'd get whatever you can
for everybody.
For everybody,
right? So now is it possible to trade guys that you only had for 1 year? Like, would you think about trading that I'm asking this question? Would you think about trading if you could both Lindholms? And
you're going to end up having to cover, I would assume, some of that salary.
Okay, so maybe you wouldn't want to do it then, because I was going to throw Zadorov.
God, Zadorov stinks.
Right.
You need to ship him out of here ASAP. He is a walking 2-minute minor.
Right. So is that somebody that you would look to trade, Shime, 1 year after you gave him a pretty good contract?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
I'll eat some of the contract. I don't care. Get him out.
All right. So then I guess those are the questions that, and then Curtis brings up a good point, is do the Jacobs feel like Cam and Sweeney can they do enough to change this team and get them back, or have they been, or at least Cam, has he been around here long enough, and Sweeney, where it's like, now we might need some new fresh blood, or at least, hey, Cam, you got to go in a different direction than Sweeney.
Yeah, I mean, we were out, I'll just say, during the roadshow season, we spoke with someone who would know that said that the brass, Charlie's dad, Chairman Jacobs, Jeremy, is still very engaged.
Correct.
Speaks to Cam Neely, we were told, almost daily.
Yes.
So Neely's safe.
I would guess that Neely's safe, but I don't know if Sweeney is.
Right. And that would Neely move on from, it seems like, Sweeney and say, all right, maybe we need to get a new guy in.
But
here.
I don't put a lot of it on Don Sweeney. Like,
all right.
I
What? Who do you put it on?
They ended up going for it, and I put it on the players. Like, they went out and mortgaged their future, that, record-setting season, and the players, they tried to put it on the coach. The players weren't able to advance past the first round. Like,
but he did select the players, right?
And he made the wrong decision in firing Cassidy.
Like, it may not be entirely his fault, but he does have some culpability in this.
Don't you think the Bruins are in a better place now if Cassidy's here and you don't have the Monty era?
Yes.
And that was your biggest thing. So so you would go, wait a second, that was Sweeney's decision to move on from Cassidy.
Well, I thought it was Patrice Bergeron's decision. That's what everybody around here told me.
Yeah, maybe but maybe part of it was
Bergeron could have stopped it. That's the truth.
But maybe part of it was Sweeney would rather listen to Bergeron and the players and say take their side and move on from Cassidy.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? It looks like you're going to be in the market for a new coach anyways. So now what's that direction look like?
You save money, you get a coach GM.